So UFC 283 Teixeira versus Hill is like 3 weeks away, but I'm in isolation right now, man. I went to a festival over the New Year and I got ill. You know what I mean? I get ill with exactly what you think it is, and I'm in isolation right now. It's like day two. I'm super bored. I have nothing really to do. I'm sitting here with the maddest tan lines that I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, from there, but man, let's just I don't know, man. I got a cool tan, and I'm just gonna sit in my room for 7 days doing nothing. But I guess you guys don't really want to hear about that. Let's just go on. Let's talk about the fights, man. So the first fight is Daniel Marcos versus Simon Oliveira. Um, I've been critical about Daniel Marcos in the past. Um, and by past, I mean Dana White's contender series. I did pick Brandon Lewis to beat him. Marcos did look pretty good in that fight, but that was his first fight in 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, damn, dude. And now he's fighting Simon Oliveira. I do think he's going to beat Simon Oliveira, but Marcos is a guy that I am a little bit wary about picking in the future. I think he beats Oliveira with the style that he's got. Oliveira is the far superior grappler in this matchup, and he's going to try anything to get the fight to the ground. Anything at all. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's going to be pulling guard. He's going to be, like, clinching and then trying to, like, standing guillotine. He's going to be doing weird stuff. Like, he's going to be doing weird stuff to get the fight to the ground because he needs the fight to go to the ground. He's going to shoot for takedowns, all this and that. But Daniel Marcos, I believe, is going to have the advantage on the feet. I don't think he's going to get a KO. I think he's going to pick Oliveira apart from the outside and win a decision. But Marcos is a guy that I'm keeping a close eye on about how I actually feel about him because, as I said, he's fought once in 3 years, once in 3 years now, pretty much. And the guys that he was fighting, I know they've got good records in the Peru regional scene, but when you watch the fights, which are hard to find, they're on like Facebook and YouTube and stuff. Um, they're not really that great, you know what I mean? Daniel Marcos was just a lot better than the guys he was fighting on the regional scene. I think Marcos wins a decision. I wouldn't be too surprised if Oliveira gets a submission, but I do think Marcos is going to keep it on the feet. This next matchup is really, really interesting to me. Luan Lacerda, he got signed straight up to the UFC. He's on a massive submission streak right now. And he's fighting Cody Stamann, who's been in the UFC for a long time. He's fought 10 times in the UFC. And I believe he was ranked at one point as well. Am I wrong in saying that? Like, he fought Jimmy Rivera, Merab Dvalishvili, and Said Nurmagomedov back to back. He did get destroyed by Said Nurmagomedov. And then he bounced back against Eddie Wineland. Weird matchmaking, to be honest. I mean, he KO'd Eddie Wineland in the first rounds, and it was his first KO since 2017. So Stamann does have power in the hands. He does have a couple of KOs on his record, but he doesn't really have the KO power unless he's fighting someone like Eddie Wineland at this point, I guess. But Luan Lacerda is dangerous, man. He's a really slick grappler, and Cody Stamann's a good wrestler, and Cody Stamann's probably going to want to try and get the fight to the ground and use his wrestling and dominate in that aspect. But Lacerda's going to be live for submissions as long as the fight's going, man. It's such a tough fight to call. I am going with Stamann for now. The level of competition for Lacerda's pretty high, but Stamann's been around, man. He's seen really good fighters. I believe he's been ranked at one point as well. I mean, to fight Jimmy Rivera and Merab Dvalishvili back to back, and recently too, I feel like you would have had to be ranked at one point. But I think Stamann's going to win a decision here. I think it's a big step up in competition for Lacerda, man. The next one is Wiley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby. I used to joke about Wiley Alves being Colby Covington's father because it's not even that funny. It's just, I guess it's just true. I don't know, he beat Colby Covington, but just a really random win for him to have. You know, he submitted him so quickly and then lost a couple of times, and Colby Covington went on to have a really successful career. But yeah, he's fighting Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby's and Wiley Alves are both guys I'm always pretty weary about picking, but they've both got pretty good wins recently. I mean, Claudio Silva's pretty old at this point. He's kind of done, but Dalby beat him. He lost to Tim Means, but then he robbed Daniel Rodriguez pretty badly a couple of years ago. And then Wiley Alves just lost to Jeremiah Wells a year and a half ago. Beat Munir Aziz, which is a pretty good win. But he was meant to fight Jack Della Maddalena as well, and then he pulled out of that fight. Jack Della ended up fighting Pete Rodriguez. The rest of this history. But I'm picking Nicholas Dalby in this one here to win by decision. As you can tell, I'm not that confident in the pick. I'm going to have to look into it a little bit more. At the end of the day, Dalby is 38 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm picking Dalby by decision. in this matchup. The next one is Guram Kutaladze taking on Thiago Moises. Now, Guram Kutaladze, you need to fight more often, brother. I mean, what are you doing? He had a super competitive fight with Mateus Gamrot, and then he had a super competitive fight with Damir Ismagulov. And it doesn't matter whether or not you agree or disagree with the decisions. The point really is, he had competitive fights with guys that at the time were top 15, top 10 levels of the lightweight division. And that tells you something. That tells you he's good, man. And I know Damir just recently retired. I do think it was probably because of his facial tic sort of thing. And but yeah, Guram Kutaladze is fighting pretty good guys in the regional scene, but man, he really showed off his skills since he got into the UFC, but he's just not fighting very often. I don't really understand why. He's fought twice in 2 years in the UFC. I wish he was fighting more. But he's fighting Thiago Moises, and Thiago Moises, I think he's going to be the underdog in this one here. I'm going to be picking Guram Kutaladze. I'll get that out now, but Thiago Moises is going to be a good test for Guram. I feel like if Guram wins this fight, he's definitely getting a top 15 opportunity in his next one, but Thiago Moises coming off that win over Christos Giagos. A lot of people thought he was going to win that one. Lost to Yoel Alvarez, but Yoel Alvarez is like 6'3", should be fighting at 170 pounds. Then he lost to Islam Makhachev in a fight which he lasted 4 rounds for, and beat Alexander Hernandez and Bobby Green, which are pretty good wins. The Hernandez win is aging pretty badly, but still a good win nonetheless. So I've got Kutaladze to win by decision in this matchup here. I think he's going to show... He's not going to show... This is a really bad way to put it, but he's not going to show levels, but he's going to show that he is top 15 level, and Thiago Moises is that guy that just isn't quite top 15 level right now. But Moises is not in 28 years old, man. He's a good prospect, but I think Guram Kutaladze does beat him. The next fight is Jailton Almeida versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. I'm going with Jailton Almeida, but I just don't really understand why he doesn't fight at... why does he not fight at light heavyweight? You know what I mean? Like, why is he wanting to fight at heavyweight? I don't... Did I speak English? Anyway, the point is Jailton Almeida. He's fought at light heavyweight. He's fought at heavyweight. He fought the short notice Anton Turcal on short notice at 220 pound catch weight. And then and the reason why I think that was made was because I feel like Anton Turcal's team probably thought Jailton Almeida was bulking up for heavyweight, and they didn't want Anton to weigh in at 220 and Jailton Almeida to be 240 pounds. And then to my surprise, and to everyone's surprise, Almeida weighs in at 216 pounds. Like, I don't understand. Like, obviously he doesn't really have to cut that much weight. He probably walks around at 220 pounds if he weighs in around that for heavyweight fights. And Shamil Abdurakhimov, he's a good striker, but I think Jailton Almeida is going to just take him down and submit him in the first round. Like, this guy's crazy good. I would rather him fight at 205 pounds. I really would. I think he's got a higher ceiling at light heavyweight. I think he can get into the rankings faster at heavyweight, but I think he's got a higher ceiling at light heavyweight. You know what I mean? I feel like once he gets to the guys like Cyril Gane, the guys like maybe even like Francis Ngannou, for an example, Curtis Blades, I feel like that's kind of when, if you compare Jailton Almeida fighting someone like Jamal Hill, Anthony Smith, like just like top ranked guy like Nikita Krylov, like it's just different, you know what I mean? Even like Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz, you know, like top ranked guys, it's just different. I feel like Jailton Almeida matches up a lot better at the light heavyweight level than he does at heavyweight. I'm picking Almeida by finish. I think he's going to get a submission. I'm not too sure why everyone's picking him by KO. He's literally a submission expert, but anyway, I've got Almeida. I've never picked against this guy. I even picked him against the undefeated Nasruddinov, who he fought on a contender series, which a lot of people picked Nasruddin in that one. I picked Jailton Almeida, boys. I did my research. I did my tape study. Everyone was complaining when I did this. This is at the very start of my YouTube channel over a year ago, that they could not find tape on Jailton Almeida. The secret is you search his nickname. There's heaps of tape on his nickname. But anyway, you move on. Terence McKinney versus Ismail Bonfim. Believe it or not, boys, you're gonna be surprised, boys. Those that know me won't be surprised. I actually got a DM from someone I talk to regularly on Instagram, asking me what he thought about this fight. And I said, I'm picking Ismail Bonfim, and he said, yeah, that's exactly why I asked you, because I knew that's probably what you're going to go with. Yeah, I'm picking Ismail Bonfim. I'm high on this guy, man. I picked him to win against Nariman Abasov when almost nobody else did, really. I mean, I might have to rewatch other people's Dana White's Contender Series prediction videos, but a lot of people are picking Nariman Abasov, and he's 28-3 with good wins. I think he was coming off a win over a guy that had like a 30-4 record. You know what I mean? Like just insane stuff like that. Ismail Bonfim, he picked him apart. He made him look like he didn't belong. Ismail Bonfim as well. He's got a professional boxing record of like 5-1, and I think he's got an amateur record of 14-3. That's just off the top of my head, though. I could be wrong, but it's going to be something around like that. He is a Brazilian amateur boxing champion. He's got really good jiu-jitsu, really good this and that. And Terrence McKinney, if Terrence McKinney wants to win this fight, he's going to have to use the wrestling. But the reason why I'm not picking Terrence McKinney to win is because I don't know for a fact if he's going to do that. You know what I mean? Terrence McKinney's a really good wrestler. He trained with Michael Chiesa from high school onwards. He's got crazy power in the hands. But we are seeing him tagged on occasion, you know, like he's beaten Drew Dober up, which is really good in hindsight, you know what I mean? And then Drew Dober ended up winning. And then he was beaten up Eric Gonzalez. Eric Gonzalez landed like one good punch on him. But if Eric Gonzalez is landing one good punch on you, man, someone with the boxing level of Ismail Bonfim, someone with the movement of Ismail Bonfim, I think he's gonna stay on the outside, use that really good boxing, and I think he's gonna box with Terrence McKinney for 3 rounds. All he's got to do is not get KO'd, which is so much easier said than done. I think Ismail Bonfim's gonna be the minute winner in this one here. And Terrence McKinney, if he's going to win, he's going to knock him out, he's going to spark him out, or he's going to use his wrestling. But even then, Ismail Bonfim does have pretty good takedown defense, got really good jiu-jitsu as well. I'm picking Ismail Bonfim, man. I feel like no one else is really going to do that. But I believe in him, man. I really do. So give me Bonfim decision. I'm 23% picking him on Tapology. I respect that, man. But yeah, I feel like that might be like my big underdog pick. You know, I don't know what Terrence McKinney's going to be on the odds. I expect maybe, because he's got so many fans, he might even get bet almost as wide as like -180, -200. But I'm still sticking with this Ismail Bonfim, man. I do love Terrence McKinney as a person, though. I love his Twitter. He's actually really, really cool. But it's what it is. Next one, Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. I'm picking Johnny Walker, man. Yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of picking Paul Craig. I think I actually picked him to beat Nikita Krylov. I did pick him to beat Nikita Krylov. I think I picked Jamal Hill. No, I don't think I had a YouTube channel then. But if I did, I think I picked Jamal Hill to beat him. I think I picked him to beat Krylov. And then I picked him to lose to Volkan Oezdemir. And that was a big, like, weird pick that a lot of people didn't agree with. And then Volkan Oezdemir 30-27'd him on the feet. And the thing about Paul Craig is, this is what I like about Paul Craig. All Paul Craig has is jiu-jitsu. But the thing about Paul Craig is he knows he's only got jiu-jitsu, so he really leans on the jiu-jitsu. He doesn't try and strike with guys he may or may not potentially have like a slight striking advantage on, or he doesn't try and strike. All he tries to do is use his jiu-jitsu. He's going to get the fight down to the ground at any point, at any cost. You know, he's going to be doing rolls, he's going to be pulling guard, he's going to be shooting for takedowns, you know what I mean? And Johnny Walker, he's going to be the much better striker in this matchup, and Johnny Walker's a guy I can't trust for anything, you know what I mean? He's got no chin anymore, it's done, he got knocked out by Hill, he got decisioned by Santos, which was crazy, because I remember after that, everyone was like, man, maybe Walker does have a chin, and he got hurt by Krylov as well, but about Walker, man, I think Walker wins. I think he does. I think he's going to knock out Paul Craig as well. But the thing is, he can't knock down Paul Craig and then try and ground and pound him because he's going to get subbed. That's just what happens in Paul Craig fights, man. I think the thing about Paul Craig is, after watching him fight against Oezdemir, I just don't see him being an elite striker at 205. You know, like, he's not going to be a jiu-jitsu guy that does become a good striker like we have seen in the past. But I think Walker on the feet's got his number, man. I think he's going to knock him out. I'm picking Walker by KO. It really is Walker by KO or Craig by sub. I would be surprised if it goes the distance. But if someone's going to win decision, it will be Walker. He's going to be the minute winner in the fight, in my opinion. He's going to be the one that's just winning on the feet in general. Next one is Brad Tavares taking on Gregory Rodriguez. And I've been a big fan of Gregory Rodriguez. I don't think I've ever picked against him on my channel. I did pick him to beat Petrosian. I picked him to beat Marquez. He beat beat up Marquez pretty bad. I picked him to beat Jetty. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Um, Thinking about Tavares, man. I think Tavares wins. I think Tavares wins. Rodriguez got really good jiu-jitsu that she doesn't use. And if he does want to get the fight to the ground, he's not going to take down Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares defended all of Dricus du Plessis' takedowns. He's got insane takedown defense. He's a good striker. He beat Omari Akhmedov, beat ACJ, which is a very well Asian win. He did lose to Emma Chabazian, which is kind of crazy in hindsight. He just doesn't fight that often, does he? Yeah, I think Brad Tavares wins. Believe it or not. And another thing that's interesting to me is Gregor Rodriguez had that terrifying cut over his brow, and that was only 2 months ago, man. Like, has he let it heal properly? You know, like, maybe he's just got a really good surgeon. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if you guys have noticed about me, but I had a surgery over a year ago now, and my scar still hasn't healed. It still hasn't closed over. So maybe whoever's done the surgery has done a really good job on Gregor Rodriguez. But this is a 1-year-old scar that still hasn't closed over, still hasn't healed. So I don't know, maybe it's different. Maybe it's different part of the body. Maybe it's different sort of stitching, this and that. Because mine were stapled together. But the thing is, his were separated so much, they would have to be stapled as well. I'm interested in that. I think that cut's going to reopen. I think Brad Tavares wins by decision. And no one's picking it. What? That's crazy to me. I think Tavares had a very competitive fight with Dricus du Plessis, which is going to age well. I know Gregor Rodriguez is a beast. I've never picked against Gregor Rodriguez either, but Brad Tavares, man, I think he's got him. I think he's got him, man. Wow, I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Josiane Nunes versus Zero Fen. I'm picking Josiane Nunes. It's at 145. Josiane Nunes, you're 5'2". What are you doing at 145 pounds? Zero Fen's a pretty good kickboxer from France. She just doesn't fight often whatsoever. I was going to say I haven't seen her fight in a long time, but I haven't. I don't even know if she's had fights booked since she has that fell out. I think Nunes wins. Am I gonna pick her to win by KO though? The thing about Nunes is she's kind of crazy on the feet. Like, she lands bombs, but the thing is, at the same time, Zero Fen's actually a pretty good kickboxer, and Josiane Nunes is just a beast on the feet. You know what I mean? Like, we're picking pretty technical kickboxer who's 36 years old, or Josiane Nunes who's a beast on the feet and very strong. And I don't understand why she's at 145. Josiane Nunes, have you not got the idea? Women's featherweight doesn't exist. It's not a real division. It's not even on the UFC website. It has never been. I think they're going to abolish that division in 2023. Maybe I should make a video about like big predictions I think is going to happen in the UFC that are kind of out there. And I think one of them is they're going to abolish women's featherweight. It's going to be gone. It's not going to exist. 5% picking Zero Fen. Wow, I'm picking Nunes, but I don't really mind Zero Fen's chances as an upset. I think it would be a big upset if she wins, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it happened. Next one, Gabriel Bonfim versus Munir Lazzez. Big step up in competition for Gabriel Bonfim, and I don't mind the Munir Lazzez pick, especially how good he looked against Angelusa. Munir Lazzez is going to be better on the feet for sure. That's kind of what he does. He come in and fought Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I tell the story every time I break down Munir Lazzez fights. So the way that Munir Lazzez was signed to the UFC, believe it or not, there's actually a true story and it's crazy. So Dana White's son was like hosting a birthday party or something, and one of Dana White's son's friends that got invited to the birthday party went up to Dana White, went up to his mate's dad, and showed him Munir Lazzez highlights, and obviously Dana White and the team would have looked into him, and then they signed him, and then he fought Abdul Razak Al Hassan, a pretty cool fight, and then he lost to Wally Alves, and then he beat Angelusa. He's fighting Gabriel Bonfim, is such a good prospect, man. This guy's grappling is insane. I think he's going to get Munir Lazzez to the ground. I think he's going to get a submission, but if the fight is on the feet, Munir Lazzez is probably going to win. But once again, Gabriel Bonfim is actually also a Brazilian amateur boxing champion. I don't have his record on the top of my head, but he is a Brazilian amateur boxing champion, man, and he's good. He beat Trey Waters, but Trey Waters was a very short notice replacement. And this submission is so crazy. Like, Trey Waters had him in a guillotine, and obviously, like, his head was there. And then while he was in the guillotine, Bonfim started pushing down on a Von Flue choke and choked out Trey Waters. It was crazy. Such a cool submission. I like Bonfim by submission in this one. I think he's going to get Lizez to the ground and get a submission. I'm seeing a lot of people picking Lizez though online, so interesting to see what that is. This is a big card. There's 15 fights on the card, man. I will quickly talk about the main card before I get into Gilbert Burns and Magny. It's just missing something in it. You know what I mean? It's missing another big fight. Like, Burns on the card versus Magny's cool. Andrade versus Murphy, put it on the prelims. Shogun Hua versus Iho Pateria, I'll give you my thoughts on that matchup. Start with, there should be something better on the main card. I know it's Shogun's retirement fight, but like, come on, man. Like, Iho Pateria's your retirement fight. Anyway, let's go on. Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. I'm picking Burns. Magny can win this matchup though, which you may be interested to hear me say. Like, if Magny keeps it on the feet and like kickboxes him from range, which isn't going to happen, by the way, Gilbert Burns is going to win the fight. But if Magny does keep it on ranging, he does have a path to victory here. And I do like Magny's attitude. You know, he's been calling out Khamzat Chimaev for so long. He fought Shavkat Rakhmonov. He just fights anyone, anywhere, anytime. You know what I mean? And he called out Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns was getting ducked by Masvidal, so Neil Magny called out Burns, and Burns was like, hey Magny, like, you're not my number one priority fight. I want to fight Masvidal, but if Masvidal's going to run, then I'll fight you. And so that's kind of how this fight got made. I do think Gilbert Burns wins. Burns has not got many submissions in his UFC career for someone that was a Jiu-Jitsu world champion, though, which is crazy, you know what I mean? I think I'm going to be going with Burns by decision, but if I'm going to pick Burns by submission at some point, it might be this. Because that's the thing about Burns, man. He doesn't have that many. His last submission in MMA was in 2019, and he was a grappling world champion, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I'm going with Burns. I'm going to be going with Burns by decision. I think he's going to use his wrestling and grappling to beat Magny by decision. I think he's going to take down Magny. Maybe even get a submission actually, like Rakhmonov kind of did. Is that a bold call? Burns by submission. He hasn't submitted anyone in a very long time. I'll do it. Go with Burns by submission. I think he's going to beat Magny. I think Magny's going to have a good first round, and then Burns going to beat him from there. Second or third round finish for Burns. Next one is Jessica Andrade taking on Lauren Murphy. We're finally going to see Murphy get knocked out. Thank you so much, Andrade. You're doing us a big favour. How does she last 4 rounds with Shevchenko? That should have been a red flag from the in general going into the Tyler Santos fight. Was it 3 rounds? I think it might have been 3 or 4 rounds. I can't believe she lasted so long. Like, she made Shevchenko 4 rounds. 4 rounds. She made Shevchenko look bad by the amount of time that it took Shevchenko to finish her. You know what I mean? And then she beat Miesha Tate. I forgot about that. She out-wrestled Lauren Murphy, who started training in general at 29 years old. Out-wrestled like a high school wrestling champion, you know, a girl that used to wrestle with the men. She out-wrestled Miesha Tate. How did that happen? But Andrade's going to knock her out, and it's going to be very satisfying. So I'm very looking forward to that. Thank you, Andrade. Andrade by KO in the first or second round. Please do it. Next fight. I've got a lot of things to say about this one. So Shogun Hua's retirement fight. You really couldn't find a better opponent for Shogun for his retirement fight. Like, I know Iho Pateria looks terrible in his debut, but you're going to give him a hungry 26-year-old that throws bombs with anything he throws. He's got no technique whatsoever, but this guy throws bombs. He throws hooks. He throws combinations. He's uber aggressive. You watch his fight with Lukas Sadowski, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy runs out there with no regard of his personal safety, and he throws hammers. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. This guy is throwing bombs and bombs and bombs, and Shogun, who is 41 years old, he hasn't looked good for 6 years, man. He hasn't looked good for years. Like, in hindsight, he did beat Pedro, but like, he hasn't looked good in so long. Rua's been done for so long, and you're giving him a 26-year-old up-and-coming guy that throws and swings to the fences, has power in the hands. You could have done the Ovin St. Preux trilogy, because I believe that was a rematch. You could have done the Ovin St. Preux trilogy. You could have done a rematch with an older fighter. You could have maybe done Alexander Gustafsson if he's not injured. You could have maybe done... I don't know, man. You just could have done a veteran. You could have done someone like that's also 40 years old, like Shogun Hoa, not a 26-year-old, up and coming, 18-3. Doesn't matter the level of competition. Alright, the level of competition is terrible. But the point is, 18-3, hungry, up and comer, with power in the hands, with no regard for his personal safety, throws bombs in volume. He's aggressive. He's gonna try and knock out Shogun Hoa in the first round, and it's his retirement fight. Like, come on, man. You could have found something better. You just could have. You just could have. I don't get this fight. It makes me so... It doesn't really make me angry. It doesn't make me upset. It just makes me a little bit disappointed. Who in there could have rematch that makes sense? Let's just re-sign Jan Vellante for one fight. Come on, like... Yeah, let's do OSP again, you know. Let's do a trilogy with OSP. Come on. Alexander Gustafsson, let's do the rematch. Who else is around, man? That's still doing it. I mean, we're looking back into 2007 now. Yeah, like, come on, dude. Crazy to me. It's crazy to me that they've made this fight for his retirement fight. I think it's just so disrespectful. And I think they're just trying to build Ihor Potieria as a prospect. Because if he knocks out Shogun Hoa, he just knocked him out on a pay-per-view main stage. 19-3, 26 years old, you know what I mean? You can give him the lowest of the low at 205. Build him up, all of a sudden you got a 23-3, 24-3 Uber prospect. Like, come on, man. It's just so bad. It's so bad. I'm picking Potieria KO in the first round. Maybe not even in the first round, maybe in like the first 2 minutes. Oh no, like with his style, you've got to watch his fight on Dana White's Contender Series to know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, it's so bad. I'm picking Figueiredo in the fourth fight. This fight should never happen. Figgy's up 2-1. Like, I don't understand. The thing is with this fight is they gave Brandon Moreno the 5th round to make it a draw. And if you watch that 5th round, because Figgy was up on the scorecards, he did lose a point, but he was up. And if he won that 5th round to the judges, he would have won the fight. But they gave Brandon Moreno the 5th round. If you watch that 5th round, Moreno did not win that fight. Moreno did not win that 5th round. Okay, I'm telling you, dude. Figgy won, and then he come out. He had bad weight cut. He looked shockingly terrible against Moreno, and then he beat him. He beat Moreno. He found that chin. He caught him, knocked him down. And speaking of Moreno, man, why is this guy getting so many title opportunities? It doesn't make all that much sense to me. Like, he had the draw, so they did the rematch. That makes sense. But then, like, and then Figgy got a rematch, I guess. And then he fought for an interim title, and now he's fighting for a title again. What about Alejandro Pantoja? What about fresh contenders? You know what I mean? He lost. We could have done the rematch later on, but we're doing a 4th fight. I think Davison Figueiredo is going to knock him out, man. I really do. I think he's going to win. He's got to have a good weight cut, though. But Figueiredo, in this quadrilogy or whatever, he is the better fighter. He is. And I don't think this 4th fight needs to prove that. I feel like Figueiredo already has proven that he is a better fighter than Brandon Moreno. He just got to show up on weight, man. He's got to make the weight well. He's 35 years old. The thing about Brandon Moreno was he was training at Glory MMA with James Krause, and he was like James Krause's glory boy. You know what I mean? He was with James Krause through and through, and he was backing James Krause when it all come down, and now James Krause is guilty, which is a really bad look for Brandon Moreno. But yeah, he's had to jump ship. He's had to find another team now, and he doesn't have James Krause in his corner, which I guess maybe he liked, even though he only fought with him once with Kai Kara France, and that was a competitive fight, man. I mean, one judge had it 2-0 Kai Kara France going into the 3rd round. I picked Kai Kara France to win that fight, and I had it 2-0 Moreno going into the 3rd round, but I thought that Kai Kara France was about to win the 3rd round, and then he got knocked down and knocked out pretty much. Yeah, those scorecards if it went 5 rounds would have been crazy. Because one of them had it 2-0 Kai Kara France, one of them had 2-0 Moreno, and then one of them had it 1-1 Moreno. But anyway, Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm getting confused. Figueiredo. I think Figueiredo wins. I think he beats him. I think he's gonna knock him out too. And then Figueiredo's gonna either vacate the belt and go to 135, which I think is more likely to happen, and then or he's gonna fight Alejandro Pantoja, and Alejandro Pantoja is gonna beat Figueiredo because Alejandro Pantoja is the uncrowned king at 125. So let's go Pantoja. Let's go. Now, enough of my ramblings. I've got more ramblings to come, guys. Oh man, this is such a washed video. Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. This is a desperate move on the UFC to make this the title fight. The crazier thing to me as well is Jamal Hill opened up as the favorite. Teixeira opened up plus 130, sorry. And then obviously money's come in on him. And yeah, I do think Glover Teixeira wins this fight. Jamal Hill was taken down 6 times by Thiago Santos. He did defend 14 takedowns, but he got taken down 6 times by Thiago Santos. Glover Teixeira, if he gets 6 takedowns over Jamal Hill, he's getting a submission in one of those 6 takedowns. And that's why I'm picking Glover Teixeira by submission in this matchup here. I do think he's going to beat Jamal Hill. But if Glover Teixeira wins and then retires, I will be so salty. Because then what are they going to do? Like, they're just going to have to pass the light heavyweight belt around like a pass the parcel until Yuri comes back. You know what I mean? I feel like on the feet, Jamal Hill is just going to have the advantage. But I do think Glover's going to win the fight. I think he's going to submit Jamal Hill. I'm going to go with like 3rd round. I'm going to go somewhat late. 3rd round submission for Glover Teixeira. I am pretty wary of picking Glover. I did think about picking Jamal Hill for a long time, actually. I was thinking, yeah, I think Jamal Hill might be able to knock out Glover, because the thing about Glover is he is really slow. And the one thing that I don't really like about this fight of the year with Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira is whenever I watch, I just get so frustrated at how bad Yuri looked. You know, like, I don't think it was a great performance from Glover. I think it was just how bad Yuri looked in that fight. Like, Glover, he's so slow. Like, he took down Yuri at times, or, like, tripped him up, and Yuri was on the ground, and then Glover's, like, standing there, and he's, like, mentally taking, like, 2 seconds to slowly go down to the ground. Like, he's so slow. And I feel like Jamal Hill's going to be so much faster than him on the feet. I think as long as the fight's on the feet, Jamal Hill's got a KO threat there. He really does. But I think that Glover Teixeira is going to take him down and submit him, because it's Jamal Hill, when he got taken down 6 times by Thiago Santos. Like, come on, man. And also, another thing that I'm going to say is, this might be reading in between the lines. This might be a little bit too much. But when the fight was announced, and Jamal Hill made that TikTok about the fight, and he was like, it was kind of like that meme. It was like, oh, well, the fight was a draw, and it was like him like picking up the phone, like, hey, give me the title shot. He didn't really look like he was in fight shape. You know what I mean? Like, that was one thing with me. He didn't look like he was in fight shape. He only fought Thiago Santos 3 months ago. 3 months is not long enough for him to practice defending takedowns against Glover Teixeira. And Glover's going to take him down and submit him. I'm almost tempted to say it's going to be early, but I think Jamal Hill does have good enough. His takedown defense wasn't bad. Like, he did defend 14 takedowns. So I think he's got a good enough get-up ability to keep Glover off him, but I think Glover is eventually going to submit him. But I wouldn't be that surprised if Jamal got a KO. It is Glover Teixeira, and he did look so slow against Yuri. Like, he looked so slow. I cannot state that enough. You got to watch the fight to understand what I'm saying, but my god, it was a bad performance. Yuri looked so bad in that fight. But yeah, Teixeira submission's the pick. I think he's going to get it done. And I think he's going to beat him. I think he's going to beat Hill. But the thing is, if Teixeira wins and then he retires, what are we going to do? Just a Jan versus Ankalaev rematch for the title? I mean, come on, man. Yeah, interesting one. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, where's my stop recording button? This is embarrassing. What a mess of a video. I love it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video.